the country of what our disappeared stood for, and how cruelly the military disposed of them.
Okay, so this video is not recent, so you may be able to find the whole documentary online. I'm not 100% sure if you can or not. But let's get back to the presentation as a whole. So, as we're going back, the desaparecidos. Marilyn taught me how to say this the other day. The desaparecidos are the 9 to 30,000 people that disappeared, and they are referred to as the disappeared. The Ford Falcon, as he said in the video, became a symbol of terror. It was the vehicle that was preferred by the government. So when you would see this green Ford Falcon coming towards you, you would almost certainly know that you or someone you were around was about to be abducted. When people were abducted, it wasn't just that they were abducted and then killed. They were abducted, tortured, very frequently. As someone was being tortured, they would call that person's next of kin, so their wife, husband, children, parents, and they would force the family members to listen to the person being tortured. It was gruesome and clearly very cruel. The government forces would also abduct pregnant women who weren't completely in compliance with the government, and the government would take the babies from the pregnant women or the young children, and they would place the babies and children with families that the government trusted, and then they would kill the mothers. And, of course, all of these people are being killed, not so much by being killed, but the vast majority of them were just thrown into the river to die of drowning. The Mothers of the Plaza de Mayo is the group of mothers who come together asking the government to find out what happened to the desaparecidos. These are the mothers of the desaparecidos. They have annual marches and weekly marches. The weekly marches happen on Thursdays, and those still continue on to this day. The final annual march was in 2006, and it was the final march because the president of Argentina at that time was really working very hard to find the answers, and so the mothers no longer felt the compulsion to demand that the government look, because the government was looking and the government was starting to do some due diligence. The weekly protests now focus on human rights issues and making sure that the country as a whole is aware of global human rights issues. So, ways that you could turn into one of the desaparecidos. If you liked poor people too much, because remember, these are the conservative elites that took over. If you liked poor people too much and you were trying to help them, if you were part of an organization that was socially liberal, so the Catholic Church fell under a lot of fire. There were a lot of contingents of nuns that kind of disappeared. Some fathers of Catholic churches were part of the disappeared. Any journalist that published or wrote anything that challenged the government was very much easy to become one of the disappeared. And then anybody seen with anybody who liked the poor was anybody seen with someone who was part of an organization, anyone seen with a journalist could also disappear. Basically, if you were suspected of being or of sympathizing with anyone who did not agree with the government, you could just disappear. So some questions you want to consider as you read the story. You want to start to think about what role does censorship play in allowing evil to persist? What role should the media play in situations like the Dirty War? What happens when a government censors its people? What happens to the government as a whole? What happens to the country as a whole? What happens to people's sense of humanity and who they are? And then we also want to look at times when maybe do we think that there are times when censorship is necessary? Is there a time when we have to kind of control what people are saying and how they're saying it? These are all things that you want to consider as you are reading, and hopefully you will enjoy the story. It is very subtle, very sarcastic, and very good. Enjoy.